Hello, good evening from IADT. Delighted that you could join us. I know it's difficult to come on yet another Zoom webinar at this time in the evening. So we have a great lineup for you, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy this session. I know that I'm just going to give a couple of minutes before we get into the main part of the session, because I know certainly if people haven't used this platform before, it can take a minute or two just to get on the call. I'm Michelle, I'm the Schools Liaison Officer here at IADT. We have a great lineup on the panel for you this evening, both academic staff from the college and also some of our students. We have Dr. Diog O'Connell. Diog is a lecturer at both undergraduate and postgraduate level here at IADT. Her areas of expertise include Irish cinema, screenwriting, television, drama and documentary. She teaches feminism and narrative studies at postgraduate level and has also published widely. Dr. Jakob Buenaya lectures across a number of programs at IADT, including arts management, equality and English and equality studies and business management. Jakob has a PhD in sociology from Trinity College Dublin and also a master's in philosophy in race, ethnicity and conflict, also from TCD. Peter Widdock, one of our other lecturers in our Department of Enterprise and Humanities, teaches accounting from a liberal arts perspective. His areas of expertise include management, financial and taxation accounting, data visualization and game-based learning. And to introduce our students on the panel this evening, Callie Hardy is a third-year student. She's studying new media studies, and Aoife Wynne Judge is one of our third-year students, and she's studying EMCS. We also have a student on the call, Aisling O'Gorman, who's a second-year arts management student. Unfortunately, Aisling's camera isn't working this evening, but she may be able to join us on the audio. So for those of you who just joined us, you're very welcome. Just to say to you, we want to try and customize the session this evening as best we can to suit those of you on the call. You'll be able to interact with us using your chat function there. So please do type in questions to us, and we're only too delighted to make sure that you get what you need from this session. So our host for this evening is Dr. Kevin Wallace. Kevin is Head of Department of Humanities and Arts Management. Kevin has been a lecturer at IADT since 2011 at undergraduate and postgraduate level, and he's also published widely in the field of contemporary Irish drama. So I'm going to hand over to Kevin, who hosts the event for you this evening. Thank you.
And thanks very much, Michelle. It's lovely to be here, and thanks to everyone who's in attendance, to all our lecturers and all our students here, and to all of you who are watching at home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a little presentation. I'm not going to do PowerPoint, kill you with PowerPoint slides rather. We're going to look at it very briefly. And what I'd love you to do is be as interactive as you can be, ask as many questions as you like, and we'll try and talk through as much as we can what you want us to tell you about our courses. But to begin, I'll just give you a quick overview. So, in our Department of Humanities and Arts Management, we have 3 degrees that are going to be available to you through the CAO this September. So the first of them is Arts Management, DL 822. The next is New Media Studies, DL 837. And lastly is English and Equality Studies, which is DL 841. So all of these courses you can apply for through the CAO. If any of you are here that are interested in direct entry to second year, I'll be talking a bit about this closer to the end of the session. So arts management, as we like to say, is a bit like business with a twist. It gives you the best education in the areas of marketing and business and event management for the cultural and creative industries that's available in Ireland. It's a one-of-a-kind course in this country. It's very, very practical. We do a lot of work-based learning, and we do a lot of practice and project-based learning throughout the course. It's a 4-year degree with third year split in half. The The first half will be on-campus learning. The second is off-campus learning, either on Erasmus, and that can be Erasmus study in one of our European partner universities, or Erasmus traineeship, doing work placement abroad. The other option is work placement in Ireland. And we've had great success over the years with many of our graduates from arts management finding their first place of employment from their placement. For example, Helena Burns, who worked at Castlepalooza, or who works at Castlepalooza now, did her placement there. Another of our students recently, Siobhan Lucy, worked at Body and Soul Festival for her placement and went on to a job there directly after her graduation. Other people who graduated from arts management have gone on to really interesting careers, both in the events and the public relations area, such as Michelle McCarthy, who worked for Madison Square Gardens, for David Keegan, who set up his own business and is CEO of First Fortnight, an advocacy group that brings together mental health, creative arts, and the business community. And of course, people like Mark, who've gone on to work directly in the art sector and through various different means. The arts offices throughout the country, also small theatres around the country, as well as the larger cultural and creative industries, all over the country and in Britain. The next course I'm going to talk about is New Media Studies. New Media Studies is a really interesting degree that brings together the practical and the academic in the media studies learning. So you learn about media history, but you also learn about media production practice. It's, again, a very unique course. Because IDT comprises the National Film School, you get an opportunity to work in the only high-definition TV studio in the education sector in Ireland. It's actually the first high-definition TV studio that was built in Ireland, and it's still one of the best kitted out in the whole country. We also have a number of different facilities on campus, like our own radio studios that our students use significantly in first and second year as well. So the production side of the course and the creative side of this course makes up about 50% of it, while the other side, the more academic side, takes up the other 50%. It's worth saying that this course, unique from our other offerings in the kind of creative sector in IDT, does not require a portfolio. You can apply directly to this course without a portfolio, and you get in directly on your CAO points from the cert or from your level 5 QQI award. So like arts management, its third year is spent 50% on campus, and 50% of it can be abroad, either on Erasmus traineeship or on Erasmus study in some of our partner universities. The other option, again, is to go on work placement. And you can see here some of the future careers that we expect. As the course is actually relatively new, we just have our first cohort of fourth years this year who will be graduating in November, and we expect them to be able to go into a vast range of different careers, ranging from media production to public relations, also in the more traditional areas of employment that you can get from a good BA honours degree. And lastly, we're going to talk about English and Equality Studies, which is our new degree that brings together the areas of English literature and sociology and law under the Equality Studies umbrella. Again, this is a unique course in this country. It brings together the nascent area of equality studies, which is so important and topical at the moment, but also is really a growth area for employment into the future. It gives you the skills, all the skills you need to go on and be a teacher of English at secondary level, but it also gives you the skills you need if you're interested in working in an NGO or advocacy organization. And it also gives you a taste of what it's like to study law. There is a strong spine of legal studies, all of which is very relevant to the equality study area throughout the course. Again, this is a 4-year degree, and like the other two I've just spoken about, its third year is 50% on campus and the other half either on Erasmus study, traineeship, or on work placement. So as you can see here, the kind of future career paths that people might have from this range from human rights to social media to broadcasting to writing or teaching, and of course further study, as all our degrees offer. The last thing I'm going to mention is that we're very proud in IGT that we have a great record of employment for our graduates. And as you can see here, the statistics bear out that 90% of our graduates go on to find work in the area that they want to be working in, and usually in Ireland within about a year of graduation. Now that varies a little bit, but in general, it's a very high statistic for our graduates who go out, and they go into really interesting places of employment across the college. And finally, it's worth noting in this very unusual year and this very unusual learning environment that IDT has a very strong record of support for our students, ranging from additional needs such as dyslexia, ASD, and we have a very strong counselling service in the college. We have a nurses station that is, the nurses are available 9 to 5, Monday to Friday on campus. It's subsidised, so I think it costs about a tenner to see our nurse versus the 65 quid it would cost to see your GP. So it's very good. Our counselling service is free. It's also worth saying that in this year, that because we're a small college, because we've only about 2,500 students on campus, we've managed to provide different learning environments from some of our competitors and colleagues in other institutions. So we've managed to maintain some level of campus experience for our students, except at level 5 in the lockdown. So for our new media students, we were able to provide our production courses in some form for most of the year so far. We've also moved away from exams, traditional exams. We've moved to project-based learning in the COVID environment to manage the kind of the stress and the workload of our students, but also to make sure that it's possible for them to meet the learning outcomes in the most inclusive and the most learner-friendly ways possible. So I think it's worth saying as well that a lot of during this time, our lecturers are broadcasting in the main live our classes, which is really really important, so that the students have an interactive environment Monday to Friday in most cases, and we're sticking to our published timetable, which is a real testament to how we've managed to work in this unusual time. So what I might do is I might just pause for a second. If anyone wants to ask a question, now is a good time. Well, while you're thinking questions, if you want to start thinking about that, I might ask Peter first, and then Aisling, to talk a little bit about arts management.
Okay, thanks, excuse me, thanks, Kevin. Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to briefly add to what Kevin said there about the arts management degree. I'm the coordinator on the degree for the past couple of years, and also the accounting financial management lecturer. Most of my colleagues, in fact all of my colleagues, have worked in the arts or business or both, a bit like myself. And the course is an interesting one in that it is that sort of like a hybrid course. You've got the business aspect or the management aspect, and you've got the arts. And some students lean in one direction, some in the other direction. But it is a mixture of both. We don't really see it as a tale of two cities. It really is a mixture of both. I suppose what makes it, I think, very on topic, I suppose, or in vogue, is we spend a lot of time in the laboratory, in the computer laboratory. Most subjects have some time in the lab. So computer skills are important, digital skills are important. We do a lot of project work, very few exams, even pre-COVID, very few exams, a lot of group work. It's a bit of a Marmite thing for some people, but we do that. And I suppose the crowning part really is the placement in year 3. Students get to go out into the world of the arts or event management, and we define that quite broadly, and they get to dip their toe in and see if they like it or not. You can go the other way too. And that's good as well. And they come back into 4th year ready to go and to get their degree classification. And they've got something great to put on their LinkedIn profile, that they've got that the placement. Students graduate and go on to work in all kinds of spaces. I'm always amazed by the variety and the diversity of spaces that they work in, from the traditional arts to what I would just call like really funky businesses, which is wonderful. And it's a fun course to teach on, actually, as well. I really enjoy teaching on it. So I think that's what I'm going to say tonight, Kevin.
Thanks, Peter. And maybe Aisling, would you like to talk about what it's like to be a student on that course?
Yeah, of course. Just sorry about my camera, it's not working. But in arts management, as Peter said, it's a very hybrid kind of course, ranging from like the business sides to the art sides, but they all integrate into each other. So it just adds like a different opportunities for like the work placement as well. And with the work placement in 3rd year, we have the choice to either go on placement or do an Erasmus. And I've decided to do an Erasmus, which I was accepted to do in France. So it's just going to help me like gain experience in the industry, but abroad. And I think the range of subjects as well is really interesting, because it opened up my mind more to the arts aspect. So I went in initially looking at the business side of it all, but then studying events and studying music and theatre, it all kind of just opens your mind up to different possibilities within the industry. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Aisling. We might come back to you in a little while to talk about with the 3 of you what it's like in general to be a student. I'm going to move on to new media studies in one moment, but just a question that came in just now asking, is animation included on any of the courses? We do study the history of film, but we don't study animation specifically in any of these courses. But we do have a great course in animation if you're interested in our colleagues in the other faculty. Okay. So, Diogo, maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about new media studies.
Okay, thanks, Kevin, and welcome everybody who's tuned in this evening to our courses in Humanities. So I'm the Programme Coordinator for New Media Studies, and as Kevin said, we are a new course and we're in our first graduating year this year. So we're 4 years up and running, and the first graduates will come out this year. So it's been a really exciting time to see a course unfold in this area, and to see it develop and respond as the students explore different aspects of it. In a nutshell, this course is the creative and critical study of new media. So that's what we attempt to do, is explore creatively and critically the new media platforms that you're all probably very familiar with. Online platforms such as YouTube and TikTok and all these new new medias that are emerging. What we are doing is we're exploring how to create new media and then how to critically engage it. So in the creative part, we have a strand that runs straight through from year 1 to year 4 in media production. So media production 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each year you will explore an aspect of media production. This includes making videos, making podcasts, experimenting with audio, with visuals, with photography, with film, television, etc. So that's the creative strand running through. There's also an emphasis on journalism. So those of you who have an inquiring mind and want to tell stories within the kind of factual realm, there's a number of modules that explore different skills and craft of journalism. At a critical level, we explore the history of media, and we explore a number of different modules in history, theory, and context of media. Those modules would explore film studies, the history of Hollywood, of Irish cinema, of non-Western cinema. We look at documentary traditions in Ireland, in America, in Britain. We see the evolution of documentary over 100 years and how different approaches to storytelling have evolved. We explore script writing from a critical perspective, but also a practical perspective. So over the 4 years, you gain a number of different skills in and craft in area of new media, but also you critically engage with the whole area of new media to understand how it functions in wider society. And through that, you become a much more active and critical producer of new media. Like the other programs, the third year has an option for an off-campus semester, as Kevin said. So some students opt to study abroad through the Erasmus program. Others do traineeships through the Erasmus program abroad, and then more students still gain work experience in Ireland. And then in final year, there's an option to do a final year project, which is quite an innovative approach to the study of new media. So you again approach your project on a theme that's particularly of interest to you, and create media production for platforms that are particularly of interest to you. Maybe it's a blog, maybe it's a video essay, maybe it's a screencast. And alongside that, then you produce a substantial critical piece of work that informs how you approach the subject, how your ideas are formed, what you want to say, how your storytelling techniques are shaped, etc. So that is rolling out this year for the first time, and it's a really exciting project for the students. It means the students go out from college on graduation with a substantial piece of work, almost a portfolio or a calling card of their own work that they can bring to either future employers or maybe other postgraduate studies, more specialist training, etc. So I think that in a nutshell captures the essence of the programme, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be delighted to take them.
Thanks, Diog. We're just waiting for a few more questions to come in. I can see one in there that's going to ask about literature, and we'll answer that in a second. But what I might do for the moment is I might ask Callie to talk a little bit what it's like to be a new media studies student.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm in third year, so I'm in my off-campus semester, so it's kind of a different experience now, but I really liked, I think what new media was for me was an opportunity to see all the different options that you can get in the world of media, because at the moment, like, there's so many things coming out all the time, and it's hard to know exactly what you want to specialize in, especially when you're really young. And I think what new media does is it shows you, it shows you practical stuff, it shows you theory, but it really gives you an opportunity to look at everything from different perspectives, and just you get to know a lot of new things and know what you think about them more as well. And it makes you, there's so many how should I say it? Like, there's so many different outcomes that you can get out of it, and I think that's what I really took from it.
Brilliant, thanks, Callie. We'll come back to you again in a few minutes to talk about what it's like to study in IDT in general as well. I just had another question asking about Erasmus. So where are Erasmus positions usually? So first of all, they're mainly in Europe. Unfortunately, whether the UK is involved in that is a question that's up in the air. But in the main, we have a number of different relationships in France, in Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, Santander. We have a couple in Germany, Berlin and Stuttgart. We have a number across Croatia, Estonia, Lithuania, Finland, Holland, and many, many more. It's always growing year on year. So anywhere, almost anywhere in the EU is becoming more and more covered by the Erasmus program because it keeps on growing and growing. So the next question is Irish literature part of the course? So for both EMCS, which IFA studies, and for the degree English and Equality Studies, I'm very happy to say, as a scholar of Irish theatre and Irish literature, yes, it's a huge part of it. I'll let Aoife talk about that in a moment. But to talk about the English and Equality course in general, I'm going to let Jakub talk to you a little bit. And we might start, Jakub, with just talking about the Equality Studies side and what makes that different.
The Equality Study side of the course, well, we primarily are focusing in on a kind of a sociological approach to looking at equality studies, so as well as legal, as well as law, and we're primarily trying to encourage our students to really think deeply around issues that are pertinent to the society that we live in today, drawing from classical theory in sociology and beyond. And we're then trying to relate that more to contemporary issues of our time. Yeah. So we would also consider critically examining maybe the history and evolution of law. Coming to the English dimension, we'd look at delving into literary works across a range of genres. And I think primarily Anglo-English, Anglo-Irish literature. To my knowledge, I don't think we're looking at any Irish literature, are we?
Not in Gaelic, but
not in Gaelic.
Yeah.
Sure. So ideally, we're trying to develop thinking, analyzing, researching, writing skills, and legal understandings. And my purpose is to try, or at least I feel my purpose is to try and encourage students to really engage with issues relating to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and to see how we can really create a society or lead towards a future society that is more equitable.
Thanks, Jakub. That's brilliant. And Aoife, I might ask you what it's like to study English at IDT.
It's amazing, first of all. I love studying it. I've grown quite a lot with this course since I first started in first year. And I think the best part about the course, and I think the most appealing part to someone who is looking at it and say you like literature, you like media, there's multiple things you like about it, is that it continuously crosses over. You can link something from one end to another, even though they're completely different. And that's so attractive because it's almost repetitive in a way that you're reminded of things you've studied in the past. And it keeps you thinking, keeps you going, and it's so diverse, yet it awakens you to things at the periphery you never have known before. It's definitely a course to be reckoned with, and one definitely in this time that's very important.
Thanks, Aoife. That's really brilliant. And again, we're going to come back to the students to talk about student life and what it's like what IDT is like as a student in general. So we've had a few questions come in, and some of them are asking about new media. So they're asking, do new media students have access to the facilities in the film school, like the editing suites? I think we do have access to the film school. Yes, we have a number of different connections ranging from the film and TV studio. The third year course in particular is designed around streaming. I'm actually, you know what, I'll let Diog talk about it.
Okay, yeah, well, we do have access to the facilities. So in first year, the students spend some time in the radio studio. The emphasis is on podcasting and photography. And then in second year, the production emphasis is more on being out and about recording. So we've access to the equipment, and within our own department, we are building our own range of facilities as well. And then in third year, as Kevin said, the emphasis is more on studio-based production and streaming. Again, this year, given the situation we find ourselves in, it was slightly different, and Callie would have had a slightly different experience to last year's third years, in the sense that we still managed to teach the students with the studio production elements and how that would involve what that would involve if you were working in a real life studio. even within the context of COVID-19, where there was more restricted access to the college. And then in final year, we spend time back in the radio studio using the facilities to make documentaries, accessing it through post-production. Obviously, we access the software, the students have access to the software, relevant software for post-production. And alongside the media production elements are journalism modules. So that involves developing your writing skills, but equally further working within the podcast arena, which is becoming increasingly a part of the work of journalists as well. Maybe Callie, you were involved in the studio streaming production in first semester. Would you add anything to that in terms of the practical element of the program?
Well, this year I wasn't really on campus because I'm an international student, so I stayed home. So I'm sorry, I don't really know.
Okay.
I think actually that brings us to a really interesting point that we might come to in a moment, because we've been able to be flexible this year. As Diogo says, we've been able to provide the on-campus experience where safe, and we've also been able to provide people who can't or don't feel safe coming onto campus to be able to study from home in a complete way. And I think it's really great that we've been able to do both. In general, the fact that we are a smaller college has shown small is beautiful in situations like this in many ways. And I had another question about new media there. Is film explored partially or in depth? And I would say it's explored in depth in a number of different ways, because there's film history. Diogo teaches Irish cinema and documentary studies. A colleague of ours, Stephen Boyd, teaches non-Western cinema as well. So and global media industries, which kind of covers both TV and cinema in a very deep and examine the industrial as well as the kind of the academic side of it. So there's a very good and deep exploration of all of the issues there. The next question that came in is, yes, Diogo, please come in.
I was just going to add to that, the last question about film. And on the practical side, there's module in script writing, and then there's an opportunity to make a short film drama in second year.
Absolutely, and it's really important to mention that there is that very creative side to the course as well. So the next question we're asked is, what's IDT got to offer in English that other colleges don't? That is a great question, and as someone who actually taught English in another university context as well as an IDT, I can tell you that the experience is quite different. So the way we do programs on IDT is very integrated. So as Aoife outlined, the module structures tend to talk to each other. So what's different about that to other colleges is that the modules can be very separated and discrete. Your lecturer who's teaching you about word literature might not know what you've done in terms of critical theory or Irish literature or romantic poets. However, the way because we're small, because of the way we work and we're structured, our courses are designed to integrate and to work together and to take account of what you're doing in other modules year on year and across the years as well. And that's an approach we try to take to every discipline that we're teaching in all the courses here, but it actually shows itself off most, I would say, in things like film studies and in English literature, because they're the kind of things that other universities do, and our different approach really, I think.
Could I also add on to that really quickly, Kevin?
Please.
I think from my experience as someone who I knew I wanted to do English since I was in TY. It was my whole plan. I was like, that's what I'm doing in college. This is what I'm setting out for. And as a person who went from second level and did it traditionally, I sat down, I went to open days. I spoke to lecturers, I spoke to students. And I think what IDT has in favour of English is the brilliant minds that it brings with it, as in its staff. the lecturers are so well versed and well educated, but they always bring something new, whether it's their own thoughts or their own experiences or their own interpretations of text, especially literature. It literally, it never gets boring. The staff are so amazing. They're so, oh, I can't, I have no words. I was speechless. I remember sitting down and I remember I was a fourth year student at the time I spoke to in EMCS, and we spoke about Alias Grace, which is a brilliant book and also a very good series on Netflix for those people who like new media studies. And it was the way we spoke, the way the interaction went. It was different from every other college, different from every other time I sat down and spoke to their students or spoke to their staff. There was something different, something new, and something fresh. And that's what we have to bring to the table in terms of English literature. And it's the best thing, best choice I've ever made.
Thanks very much, Aoife. I genuinely didn't know you'd be so complimentary like that. But I'm really delighted that we have students who can tell you that story, because it's really, I myself am actually a graduate of the same course that Aoife does, English Media and Cultural Studies, but of a lot older vintage. And I have to say that it was a life-changing experience for me. And I'm really delighted that we're still continuing to be as positively life-changing today. So the last question I have for the moment is, what options of further study do you have if you take English and Equality Studies? And that is a great question as well. I think there's a range of options in the kind of sociology area that I'll let Jakub talk about. But in terms of education, if you decide you want to go on to be a teacher, there's what they call the MEd, the Masters in Education, or the Postgraduate Masters in Professional Masters in Education. They both qualify you to teach at second level. If you want to go on and work in the legal area, you can do a conversion course, and you can go down the legal road, and that can take you in the equality law, human rights law, or the traditional legal strategies. You can also study a range of areas in the cultural studies, sociology, and English literature fields. So there's a very wide open spectrum there. There's some really great courses in human rights and equality law out there as well across Europe. So it really is a very open field when it comes to any of our courses, or particularly that one. Jakub, I might let you jump in there to talk about some of the options with kind of sociology and that equality studies area.
Well, I think in that regard, it's again, like what I had sent to Kevin a few days ago, an article on automation first and AI, the rise of AI. Essentially, we are seeing that, and I think this is where there is a justification for equity, diversity, and inclusion, particularly in the workplace. We are seeing a deficit in our ethical understanding, ethical considerations, and maybe also the way in which we think about ourselves and others. And I think that industry across the board is seeing that this is going to be a big concern, essentially, with the advent of AI, the revolution, the fourth revolution that's going to occur. So we need to better position ourselves philosophically, deeply, and we need to be able to bring this on board as we move in that trajectory, because it doesn't seem likely that it's going to change. So we need to try and incorporate that into it. We need to incorporate the importance of equity, diversity, inclusion, philosophical thought, diversity, and so on, and basic kind of humanity, I guess, in order for us to exist or coexist with what is coming around the corner. Careers, more conventional careers relating to it, or career pathways, would be things like journalism, law and legal professions, maybe into governmental bodies and politics, considering Kevin also mentioned non-governmental sector as well, charity sector, human rights defenders, again, education, perhaps human resource management, but with this EDI as a particular kind of slant, it will be really, really beneficial, I think. But also social research. We're seeing across the board a rise in emphasis in actual data analysis, in the ability to crunch data. But it's even more pertinent to this is actually knowing what you're going to be able to do with the data. The data is there, but it's now about us maybe taking the information that's there, the big data, being able to really refine the way in which the questions that we're going to construct or devise or think up, analyze the data and come back with really robust and informative understandings of what's going on in the world around us to be able to make it a better place.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jakub. I think that's a really comprehensive answer. And I think it addresses some of the question as well that just came in about what career paths and opportunities that you have from English and Equality Studies. I would say it's a new course. It only started last year, so we don't yet have any graduates from it. But I can say that over the years, many of our graduates from our EMCS, English Media and Cultural Studies, have also gone on into the kind of the human rights sector, and we've seen a lot of people go into work in Amnesty and UNICEF and various other non-governmental organizations, as well as in the traditional kind of English literature, publishing, creative writing. We have a number of authors, poets, theatre practitioners that have come out of the courses as well. Stephen James Smith or Sarah Marie Griffin, you might be familiar with some of their work as well. So I'm going to move back to Peter for a second, because we've got a lovely question here about what kind of things do you learn in the arts side of arts management?
Yeah, good question, Kevin. The arts side of the course, I suppose, is split into two. We've got some fairly heavy hitters as in standalone modules in film studies, theatre. Music is a big part of the course, and that's everything from Beethoven to band management. So they're quite specific and very popular subjects. Also in the film studies course, you get to actually make some movies as well. And then we have the more general arts modules that look at all the different art forms, from architecture to dance to maybe some of the material people might be familiar with from, Leaving Cert art, that kind of thing, sculpture, and then also arts policy. So those that might get into the governmental side of things. There's a lot of sort of policy regarding the arts in the community. So there are kind of areas that are covered in the arts. So some quite specific, and then some a little bit more general.
Brilliant, thanks, Peter. And I think it's worth saying that across all our courses we have lecturers who are really engaged with their areas. In our English studies area, Selena Guinness, who's an author as well as a lecturer. In arts management, we have Pork McQuaid, who works on represents Ireland on one of the European Commission bodies on cultural policy. We have Michael Murphy, who worked and Rebecca Roper, who've worked in the industries, Michael in the music industry, and Rebecca in the film industry. And that's just to name a few. We've many people who've been really actively engaged in the industries and all the courses. Aoife, I'm going to put this question your way. I've got a lovely question here saying, I'm in the same boat as Aoife, in that I've always known I've been interested in English, and I'm wondering what was the deciding factor for you to choose this course for study?
Honestly, I picked this course because of how broad it was in terms of literature. Based off my experience so far, being a third year student, literature is a big part of the course. It follows you from first year till your last day, practically. And that was the main part. That was the pool, the deep end I wanted to dive into. But what's so great, and I think what really pushed me off the edge into that pool, was the fact that even though you can pick one deep end to dive into, you're still able to swim up to the top and dip your toes into the shallow end. Pick, say for instance, with Jakub, we're doing research methods. We're looking at things like literary review and how to do quantitative and qualitative data research. And then we do, like with Dio, script writing. We're doing multiple things. However, I already know what I want to do. So what was nice about it is that you're able to experience all these things, and even though if you have any doubts, you'll know then if it's for you. And it's so lovely and broad, and interconnected, like we said before. So regardless of what you're doing, you're always going to be brought back to that one root of English. It's always going to be the base of what you're doing. And it's so unique and different. I have multiple friends doing English in other colleges. To name a few, I have a friend doing something very similar in arts in Galway. She picked English as an elective, so she did something similar. However, this course is just so different and so unique. We go into so much detail in literature. Like, my favorite books are dark and beautiful, like a Jekyll and Hyde and Frankenstein, for instance. Or we do stuff like Seamus Heaney and Nuala Gonal, if you love poetry. It's so broad and beautiful, and of course there's so many options out there. It's pretty much the same thing everywhere, but that's what makes this different, is that you're able to swim around the pool until the last minute and go, yeah, I found it, dive, and you're done.
Thanks, Aoife. I think that really does capture what I think is different about what we do as well. I've got a question here about places as well. So, question: how many places in new media? Well, there are 40 places in new media, and there are 35 in arts management, and there are 25 in English and equality. But I think we'll probably, the year that'll be in it, will probably offer a few more places in each of the programs, as we did this year. So my biggest advice to you about the CAO is, if you really want to do a particular course, put it number one. Choose what you want as number one on the CAO. Also, if you don't worry when you're applying about the number of places for anything, apply for it. And give it a go, because if you're not in, you can't win. And the CAO is a pretty brutal system in this. If you get the points for your first offer, you're offered that and nothing else. So really put what you really in your heart want to do first, or else you run the risk of losing out on that opportunity. Okay. So this is a great question. Are there any Leaving Cert subject requirements for English and equality, or are there any subjects which suit the course that you'd recommend? That brilliant question. The requirement is a H4 in English, Honours English. So that's a requirement. For arts management as well, just for everyone who's out there, some kind of maths. That can even be a foundation maths. As long as you pass some kind of maths, you'll get into arts management. There are no requirements beyond the usual 2 honours subjects for new media studies. But again, going back to the other half of your question, I'd be slightly biased in that I'd recommend history, but that's my own personal interest. That's a very difficult course for the Leaving Cert. But in general, the actual only requirement is a H4 in English. Okay. Let me see, just to make sure I haven't missed any questions. Okay, please keep on asking us questions if you have them. What I might do now is I might throw back to the students. I might start with Aisling, just to talk a bit about what makes IDT different and what makes it a unique place to study.
I think there's like an inclusive nature and diverse student range. And I feel like that every student that goes to the college feels that they are important. Because I remember I walked in on my first day and I felt so relaxed because everyone was just so kind and friendly. And I became familiar with a lot of faces that I would say hello to, even if they weren't in my course. Like, I have friends from different classes and different courses, just because from like seeing them in the corridor saying hello, we just like got to know each other. And I think with the courses as well, there's a unique and diverse range, as we've like discussed now. So there's like different courses that match different personalities and interests and future plans for the workplace, I believe.
Thanks, Aisling. That's brilliant. Callie,
No problem.
come to you.
Yeah, I would really agree with that. I think what makes IDT different is the sense of community. Like, when I talk to my friends who are in bigger colleges, sometimes they say to me like that they're doing the masters, they don't know anyone, even though they've been studying for 5 years in the same place, because it's so huge, it's so big, and people just don't talk to each other. And IADT is very different for that. Like you will know your own course pretty much immediately, and then it's really easy to connect to other people and to get support as well if you need it from the services.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kelly. And Aoife, to you.
Just going to amalgamate both of their points. Like they said, it's literally a family. Like you enter and it's a community you'll never leave. But I also, like Callie said, the services there are amazing. We're all human beings, and we all experience things differently throughout our time in college. I, for one, experienced a lot of loss, whether it's people passing away or things happening, but the staff, the community, they are so welcoming, they are so understanding, and they're always there for you, literally regardless of what happens. It is the kind of place that you can come to and literally just open up, and you don't have to fear anything after. It's a blank page you can write all your thoughts on, and no one will erase it or question it.
Thanks, Aoife. Yeah, and I think I would say it's because it's small, it's a place you get to make friends for life. You know, some of the people I studied with myself are still some of my best friends, and you know, that's different from some of the bigger universities where you might never sit beside the same person twice in 3 or 4 years. So again, I think, you know, small is beautiful when it comes to IADT. Okay, so what I might do, just in case anyone's still thinking of questions, but just to say, if anyone doesn't get to ask a question today, is that if you go to our website at idt.ie, you can always stick in the info our question bot on the website and ask us anything. So any question related to any of the courses, and it'll come directly to us and we'll get back to you. And please don't be afraid to ask anything. There really is no such thing as a silly question. And then just in terms of some general advice, you know, the change of mind is open still and will continue to be open into the summertime. So, you know, if you want to change the order of the courses you've applied for or add a new one, you can still do that. I think as well, if you're somebody or you know somebody who's interested in direct entry, or if you're coming from the PLC courses, we do accept level 5 for first year entry. What's required on that side are 3 distinctions. For level 5 coming into first year, it's from any subject. So any subject at level 5, you need 3 distinctions and to pass everything else. And that will get you on to first year of any of the courses here. If you're applying to second year, you're going through the advanced entry option, and we have a 4th course which is open for advanced entry into second or third year, and that's English Media and Cultural Studies. So if you're interested in literature and media studies, you can combine the 2 in that course, and that requires a level 6 in an associated or relevant area. So you need to have done either English or media studies at level 6 in a PLC or another QQI award, or if you're looking at us from overseas, in something that is equivalent to that. And you do that through the CAO advanced entry option. And if you want any more information on that, please just send an email to myself. You'll see my details on our website, kevin.wallace@idt.ie, or to our admissions team at admissions@idt.ie. Okay, so I'll just see here if there are any other questions. Not at the moment. So again, if anyone wants to ask us a question, please feel free. But we'll finish up now in a minute. What we might do actually is, Peter, I might get you to talk about just briefly the kind of places that some of our students go on to do placement in arts management.
Yeah, sure, Kevin. Yeah, it's quite a broad range. Again, some traditional places and spaces like it could be the National Museum, it could be any one of the galleries. A lot go into sort of event management type companies. and we've quite a few going to sort of PR type businesses. Then we have others kind of going into kind of the arts in a very, very broad sense as well. Some of them quite traditional business type places, depending on where they want to go. And in and around Dublin, around the country as well. So some do go quite far afield. And I suppose I could say that probably relatively small organizations, as would tend to be the style in the arts, and then some going into more corporate type spaces. We do have occasion where you might get two or three students even from the same class going into the same place, which is quite an interesting dynamic. You get very different outcomes out of that. It's quite interesting actually. So it's very broad. It's very broad. If a student can justify why they would like to go to a certain place, and we do have a database as well, that you're not entirely on your own. I think we're happy to entertain where they might want to go. So that's it.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, I've got. I have a little warning about our network connection. So if anyone wants to turn off their webcam temporarily, that might help us. But I've got a good question about what's the male to female ratio like in English and Equality Studies. I would say it's just a little. We have a little bit more female to male ratio in our courses in general in the department. So I haven't got that figure to hand, but I'd say it would be a little bit more like 65-35%. That's female, 65 female to 35 male. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, very good. So what supports are what are the supports that Callie mentioned in IAGT for students? So Alana, that's a really good question. There are a range of different supports. We have a dedicated disability service, a dedicated access office, a dedicated counsellor, a dedicated health service as well in IDT. So there are also, aside from all of those things, there's a learning support team that work with all our students in all areas of the college. So it doesn't matter if you're a mature student coming back after a break from education, or if you're a new student who just come through the Leaving Cert, or if you have dyslexia or ADHD or whatever, you can avail of our student support service, learning support service, and they can help you with time management, with learning to write essays, on top of the mentoring that you'll get in your classes as well. So I hope that answers that. If anyone wants to arrange to have a chat with me via Zoom or another way, you can contact me again directly via email. So that's kevin.wallace@idt.ie. I'm more than happy for anyone to send me additional questions, or if someone wants to have a chat, I'm more than happy to facilitate that. Okay. So I'll let everyone come back on camera now. Hopefully the internet connection's gotten a bit better. I'm going to say thank you all. Thank you so much. And I hope we have been able to answer some of your queries and questions about those courses. But as I said, don't be shy. If you want to ask us anything, just go to our website or send an email directly to me, and we'd be more than delighted to get back to you. So thanks everyone, and I hope you have a lovely evening. And thanks to all the team here for all their contributions, to Aisling, to Aoife, to Callie, to Jakub, to Diog, and to Peter. Thank you all very, very much. And thanks to Michelle, who's working way behind the scenes to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Thanks,
Thank
everyone
you.
as well.
Thank you.